What's up, minions and mortals? This is Fang VonWrathenstein from the most metal band on earth, the Lords of the Trident, and also the person who puts together the biggest and best arcade, pinball, and power metal festival in the United States, Mad with Power Fest, and you are listening to the Brutally Delicious Podcast.
A 1, 2, 3, 4. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
Yeah, you've been on the show before, and I didn't put two and two together until I started doing some research. I went, oh, shit, he's been here. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. How are you? I'm crazy busy, but, other than that,
I imagine so.
Yeah.
Excellent. A lot goes into doing something like this, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, way too much. So, especially when you're kind of like DIYing most of it, and you've been doing it, yourself for like 7 odd years, 8 odd years at this point. It's just sort of like, yeah. And it grows, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you think, okay, this year is the year that finally everything's going to be on autopilot. And
it doesn't get easier.
It gets easier in a way. Like, so we, for the first couple of years, we had it at a smaller venue, about, 300 capacity. And, by year 2, I'm sort of like, okay, I have an idea of like how it's going to go. Then we moved it into an even bigger venue of about 500 capacity. And then that first year is always pandemonium, hair falling out, stress everywhere. You age 17 years in one day, kind of a thing. And then the next year you're like, okay, 7 arcade cabinets over here is the way to go. 5 over here is the way to go. And then you kind of get a layout of how it's going to go. And then last year was the same thing for us again, where it was like, okay, we moved from a 500 capacity venue to a 2,500 capacity venue.
Right.
And the biggest in town, essentially. And so then it was completely new all over again, because it's a new staff, it's a new, layout, it's new, there's more people, there's more things to worry about. And you run into new and different things like, okay, well, now I have to think about backstage catering. Now I have to worry about all sorts of different, allergies, and making sure that everybody has their own dressing room, and, do the showers have towels? Like, I never thought I rejoice anytime that I'm playing a venue that has a shower. I'm like, yes, finally, oh my God. But B, you always, it's always those little things that you don't think about afterwards. You get out of the shower and you're like, oh shit. Oh God, what am I gonna do? And then you take your like an old shirt and you're like, So yeah.
Hey, so Ty, this is my first time ever going to Mad with Power. So like I read a lot about how the festival goes, and I guess I was curious. Like, it sounds like it was done. Like, tell me if I'm full of shit here. Like, almost as a reaction to some bigger festivals, specifically like what do you call it, the headliner fatigue.
Yeah. So how it all happened is earlier on in our career, 2013, 2014, 2015, we got a couple of the bigger, or maybe the biggest at the time, festivals in the US in our genre offered us like slots and offered us things, and essentially like pulled the rug out from under us and said, oh, we never did that, or, oh, you never emailed us back, or that kind of thing. And then even went so far as to say, hey, yeah, we'll let you play if you pay us $15,000, kind of a thing. And and it's payable to me, the promoter, not the festival. You got to like send it to my personal, kind of a thing. And so I'd like to say that is a rarity in the music industry, but unfortunately, it really hasn't been. A lot of bands get screwed over, and a lot of bands, end up running into these pay to play issues just about everywhere they go, even on fests that say that they're not pay to play. You'll get some rogue promoter being a dick, and that just sort of happens. And I just got sick of it. I have a lot of people have said that I'm sort of like, too nice to be in the music industry. Maybe it's a Midwest thing. Maybe it's a Wisconsin thing. I don't know. We're close enough to Canada where it's like, like legally we all have to be nice, just like if you're in Canada. But I wanted to believe, I still strongly believe, and I still stand by this, that like a rising tide raises all ships. If we can make things better for everybody, if we can elevate everybody's band, then the scene gets better and your own band gets better. I don't think music needs to be a cutthroat competition of who plays when, who plays, and being angry at this person for getting this slot. It's like, if anything, we should be happy that power metal, which is a smaller genre in the United States, is getting more elevated. And I think the way that we do that is by working together. So, essentially what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a fest that gives opportunity to bands that were rising up. Much to your point earlier, a lot of the fests that I was going to from, I don't know, 2010 until maybe even just a couple years ago, the headliners that they had on those festivals were like, I mean, they might as well have had oxygen tanks coming out with them. They were old dudes, and I have nothing against like older guys in metal, older bands. The problem I have is that 99% of these bands had not released an album in the last like 10 years. In that case, what are you are you still a band? What are you still, doing the music, and it was infuriating to me as a band that was trying everything in a very DIY. We're not signed. We don't have a management. We don't have a booking agent. We do everything ourselves. We shoot our own videos. We record our own music. We book our own tours. It was aggravating to me to do all of this stuff and try to just eke my way into like a festival, an opening slot even, right? To have, the headliner be this band that hadn't done anything in 15, 20 years. And I saw the writing on the wall. It's like, if we keep doing this, I wasn't the only band that was having this problem. Every one of my, contemporaries, every one of my friends, they're having the same issue. And if we keep doing this, if we keep giving the headliner slots to bands that haven't done anything in 15, 20 years, we're going to starve the young bands that need that attention to get themselves to the next level. A good festival appearance could be the difference between, your next Kickstarter being funded or not, your next tour being promoted well or people coming out to it or not. It can really hinge on one or two performances here and there. And I think not allowing younger bands or even like mid-range bands, to have those slots is really doing them a disservice and is really doing the scene a disservice. As a person who spends his own money, and hopefully I don't have to like remortgage my house every time I put the festival on, I understand the drive to want to do like sure things, to put people on headliner slots that, you're like, well, they'll easily sell 300 tickets because they made this amazing album 27 years ago or whatever. I get that idea, but I come at the festival from two different angles. I come at it from the promoter angle, but I also come at it from the band angle. And I'm hoping that what we're doing with this festival is essentially like, the whole planting seeds to grow into trees under whom I will never sit kind of idea. I want the scene to be better, and I'm trying to lead by example in the best way I can.
Beautiful.
Wow. That was that like rehearsed? That was like amazing.
No, I feel so passionately. There's two things I feel passionately about. This and Japanese toilets. If you get me talking about Japanese toilets, I will talk for hours. It would be, yeah, absolutely.
So, nice. Do you want to just like give Brutally Delicious listeners a brief overview, like who's playing this year? Obviously, we got Fellowship as like probably the main featured act, and your own band, Words of the Trident, and
yep, yeah, we got Fellowship. We got one act that I'm extremely excited about is Anthem. I think a lot of people know Anthem, but I think they're not as well known in the US as they are in Japan. I would classify them as, if we're thinking like big three of heavy metal in the US, I would sort of classify them as one of the big three, maybe even the big two of heavy metal over in Japan. Them and Loudness were two of the biggest acts. And Anthem has been consistently putting out really good albums every couple years for like, I mean, I've been listening to them for a long time, but ever since like 2008, I can think of like, okay, every 3 to 4 years, they've been putting out just banger after banger of an album. And this is actually going to be their first US appearance in over 30 years.
Wow.
So very, very excited to bring them over to the US for an exclusive performance here. Both Fellowship and Anthem are exclusive US performances, so you can only see them at Mad as Power Fest. And dealing with the visas has been eye-opening. Let's just say it's been just a process, But on top of that, yep, we're playing. Lords of Trident's playing. Those guys get booked every year. We got to talk to the promoter. I don't know,
Right.
Some sort of tit for tat going on there. We've got Magic Sword, who is a wonderful kind of live electronica band. A lot of people, kind of hear the word electronica and they think, oh, it's going to be a guy like with a laptop. But these guys play all their own instruments live. There's live drums, live guitar, live keyboards. I saw them before they blew up. I saw the words Magic Sword on a poster in Madison, and I'm like, this is relevant to my interests, And I went to see them. This is way before they had any sort of success. So I went to see them, and I was like one of maybe 25 people in a venue on like a Thursday night, and I just was blown away. They were so good live. They were so amazing, and I've seen them 4 or 5 times since then. And I'm super excited to have them back. They're incredible live, so that's great. Oceans of Slumber. A lot of people know Oceans of Slumber. They've got a new album coming out. They dropped a single from it. Really innovative sound. I love their mix of influences that they kind of mix together. That's sort of doom and the soul and all that sort of stuff. Really, really cool. Starkill from Chicago. A lot of people know that band. They've been around on the tour circuit quite a bit. Celestial Wizard is another band that is coming. They're from Denver. They're actually putting on. It's kind of fun. It's like they have been coming to or seeing Mad as Power Fest grow, and they took a little inspiration from that, and they're starting their own festival actually in Denver called Mile High Power Fest, which we're going to be playing. And they were straight up. They were like, "Yo, Ty, we want to do like Mad with Power in Denver. Is it cool?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude. Like more festivals. Hell yeah, let's do this."
Yeah.
So that's great. Glyph, who just got off a tour with Ailstorm and Elven King, bunch of very close friends of mine. Some of the guys from Glyph is made up of Rav from Ravenous and some of the guys from Greyhawk who played last year. Really up and coming, cool power metal band, super catchy. If you didn't see them with Ailstorm, you missed out, but you can see them again at Mad with Power. Dialith is another band. They're from the East Coast. My pen flew away. They're from the East Coast. Really cool mix of kind of symphonic power metal band. I'm really excited to see them live. I've been listening to them for a while. And then 3 more. I know people are like, "Oh my God, get to the point." we got Lame Genie. Lame Genie is a video game metal band. They do some of the coolest like metal covers of video game music, and they're so prolific. I want to say they've got over at least over 150 covers on YouTube just in the past like 3 years. And I've been a part of a couple of them. Anytime they need someone to sing in Japanese lyrics, they hit me up because I've got a degree in Japanese. So, which it's funny, they didn't know that at the time. They were just like, "Hey, you're a great singer. You're on our Patreon. Do you want to sing this? Oh, by the way, it's in Japanese. You could probably sound it out." And I'm like, "Nah, I got a degree in Japanese. I'm good." I'll never forget what they emailed me back after that. It was just a 1-line response of an email. It just said, "Ha ha ha, who are you?"
Also, you could talk about Japanese toilets.
And we can talk about Japanese toilets all day long. I love Japanese toilets so much. Yep. And then Vesuvian, a band that we unfortunately didn't get to play with on our last West Coast tour. We hit them up to play with us. I believe it was in Phoenix. Really, really cool band. Really interesting kind of melodeathy power kind of band. And speaking of melodeath, Vintersea from the West Coast, from I believe the Seattle area, man, they put together just a really interesting mix. Like one song will be like very black metal. One song will be very like chill power metal. just I'm amazed by the breadth of their work. So I really wanted to get them this year. So yeah, that's the whole lineup. We're also working on this year is Mortal Kombat themed. So I'm in talks right now. Every year we have the guy who played Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat 2. Every year he comes to the festival. He's been coming since Mad with Power 3. And he signs autographs. He brings his book. He takes pictures. We always have a Mortal Kombat 2 cabinet so you can play like with him, against him, that kind of a thing. But this year we're in talks with the rest of the Mortal Kombat actors. There is, I don't want to promise anything yet, but it's looking good that we will probably have just about every actor from the Mortal Kombat game at Mad with Power, signing autographs, taking pictures, all that sort of stuff. Johnny Cage, Scorpion, Liu Kang, Raiden, Kano, we'll have it all. It's going to be really fun. So, and for the people who are not aware of essentially what Mad with Power is, we do this festival, right? But the way that we differentiate ourselves from other festivals, besides taking out 99% of the BS of festivals, of going to that, and I can talk about that in a minute, but we fill a venue completely full of arcade and pinball games, and all of them are on free play. So you can, in between bands, you can play as much arcade and pinball as you want, or during our patented dinner break. Yes, we are the only festival that I know of that actually has a dinner break. Wow. You can play as much pinball as you want. We've got, tournaments. We've got all sorts of stuff. Like I said, we'll have special guests that you can play against. So it is very much an arcade and pinball and heavy metal festival, all rolled into one. And as far as I know, we're also like one of the cheapest festivals out there. It's $100 for a 2-day pass. So it's $50 a day for 12 bands. All you can play arcade and pinball and all sorts of additional like cool fest related activities that we put together. Right. So yeah, it's a big deal. It's a lot of fun.
So you have to get all those games in there too?
Yeah, we have to do it. And the big issue with that is that they don't allow us to load them in ahead of time. We have to do that the day of, while all 12 bands are loading in and sound checking. We have to set up like 70 arcade cabinets and pinballs. It's a bit, and then we have to load them out at the end of the festival at like midnight. It's a bit of a haul.
Wow. If any viewers here want to find it, you want to give us all your socials or links to where they can get tickets and that sort of thing?
Yep. madwithpowerfest.com. That's where you can find pretty much everything. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, all those places at just Mad with Power Fest.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Dark, you got anything else?
Yeah, sorry, Ty. You said you were a little short on time. Do you have time for like one or two more, or do you?
Oh yeah, no, I'm good. I'm basically good awesome. Until like 11. So.
Oh okay. Hey, we're East Coast, so in our mind, like it's already past 11. Sorry, you gotta cater to us. I'm kidding.
Yeah. No, I'm good. I'm good for another 45 minutes, so we can just like ramble.
Okay, I had like prepared questions, but just hearing you talk had me like. I'm marveled that like you're in the music business, you're doing all this organization, and it doesn't seem to have jaded you. Is that just the Midwestern facade? Like what?
It's jaded me.
You're still into it.
It's jaded me against booking agents. It's there's I can say there's one booking agent, only one that I am okay talking to, and he knows who he is. He definitely knows who he is. Every other booking agent, this is for the people who are not who've never done this before. This is how the conversation goes. I send an email saying, "Hey, we want so and so. Let's just throw out a name. We want Fellowship, right? To play our festival. Here's information about the festival. Here's what we can offer. We can give you backline and hotels and food and blah 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 blah. Oh, and by the way." I believe we are the only festival in the entire United States with 0% merch cuts. We do not take a dime out of anybody's merch because that is bullshit and bad, right? Yes. And so I'm like, how much do you want, band to band? How much do you want to play? And I'll be frank. Whenever I'm talking directly to a band, if I'm talking band to band, and they say, "Oh, we need this much," I'm like, cool, here's $500 on top, as long as it's reasonable, because bands are always reasonable. Bands will tell you directly, oh, we need this much for flights, and then like $500 on top would be good, and a place to sleep. like that's reasonable. But when you talk to booking agents, you say, how much would you like to play the festival? And without a doubt, every single time they're like, send us an offer. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. Some bands want $2,000. Some bands want $20,000. Some bands want $100,000. I don't know. Like, we travel around and sleep on floors. We play for peanuts. I don't know what you want. Like, just tell me. Just tell me what you want. And I'll send them an offer, and it's probably going to be too low because I have no idea. And then they'll get back to me like, we can't do that for that. Thanks for the offer anyway. End of conversation. This happens every single time. Every time. And then I'll email them back and I'll be like, just tell me what you want. Yeah. Just counter offer. Just tell me what the band wants. And then they'll send me something way too high. Oh yeah, $30,000. No. So it's just infuriating. And the big issue is that like the booking agents, like you have to go through them, and they know that. So they are 99.9% of the time they are antagonistic. They will straight up like insult you. Like send me a reasonable offer, you idiot. I've gotten before. They will straight up insult you, and there's nothing you can do about it because you have to go through them because they've signed a deal with the band, and there's like exclusivity there. So dealing with booking agents, I hate them. I hate booking agents. Every last one of them except for that one guy, and he knows who he is. I hate every one of them. Actually, I'll take that back. Magic Sword's booking agent, I think is also his manager, is an absolute sweetheart, and he's great. But everybody else is just a total dick.
You got two. Okay.
Yeah, I got two, that hasn't jaded me. I think the thing that we try to do with this festival, you and I and all of us, we've been to festivals, and we have to deal with a lot of fans and bands have to deal with a lot of bullshit at festivals and just shows in general. Ticketing fees, that's stupid and aggravating and dumb. You go to a website and it says, oh, it's $100 for a ticket, and it ends up being $150 because they add in all these like bullshit fees at the end. We're the first festival in the United States to take on Ticketmaster and win. We told them we're for the first 5 or 6 years, I think we built our own ticketing system with zero fees. So what you see on the website is what you pay, because I hate ticket fees. Everybody hates ticket fees. And we ended up, eating the cost of like the credit card payments ourselves. So, if a ticket was $50, we'd make, I don't know, 45 or something like that, but we didn't pass that on to the consumer because that's shitty and bad. Right. And so when we moved into the bigger venue, we were locked in to Ticketmaster. They had an exclusivity contract. We couldn't do anything about it. So we said, okay, we will do this if the final price that people see at checkout is the price that is listed on the website. Right. And this is before, by the way, Congress put that bill in. This is like 6 months before Congress put that transparency in billing, thing through Congress. So I like to think Joe Biden's a Lords of the Trident fan. I think he's watched it out. Nice. But we have our tickets listed on the website at $100, and when you get to checkout, it's $100, like give or take a couple cents because of taxes, and they differ state to state, right?
Right.
But we lose 25% of every ticket sale in terms of money coming into the festival by doing that. So we try to break even every single year. And we've broken even. We've made a little money some years. That goes into a bank account. So if some years we don't break even, then we can pay it off. But for me, I don't do this festival to make money. I don't do this festival for, any sort of monetary gain or anything. The festival for me is based off of the idea of like, right now there's a small amount of power metal bands in the United States, and we basically all know each other. But a lot of us only know each other kind of online. And there's a different vibe when you get people in a room together, talking, sharing a pizza, having a beer, right? You get a better idea of like sussing out what a person's all about, and if you connect with them, if you gel with them personality wise, right? And I'm thinking, okay, long term thinking, right? One of these 30, 40 bands that I book over, over the last, I don't know, 6, 7 years, one of them is going to eventually blow up and be the next Blind Guardian or the next whatever,
Right.
And as they're coming up, when it comes time to tour, who are they going to ask? They're going to ask people that they know that they like connect with, right?
Yeah.
So my idea is like get everybody in a room and be like, now kiss, now like I want to get everybody in a room together so that they have an opportunity to meet each other, so that they have a mental Rolodex of these bands, of these mid-tier bands, so that when say Seven Kingdoms, this is a real life example, right? When Seven Kingdoms goes on tour, who are they going to ask? They're going to ask people that they really like and gel with and can spend 2-3 weeks on the road together. So they asked us. We're like band BFFs. We're band best friends, like BBFF. And and we couldn't do it at the time because we'd just come off of Maddest Power and we were doing another tour. But the idea is there. If all of the bands know each other, if all the bands get together in the room, they'll have this mental Rolodex of, I could ask this band, I could ask this band, I could ask this band, I could ask this band. And then you don't have to rely on pay to play. You don't have to rely on, asking a record label like who they want to throw at you. It's really about garnering that friendship and bringing everybody up together, right? Because bands going on tour together helps everybody.
Yeah.
So the more people that I get together in a room, the more friendships that I create, via this fest and via all of the stuff around this fest, the better the scene, the better everybody comes away happy and being friends. And the same thing with the fan experience. We remove, like I said, we remove ticket fees. We added in stuff to do between bands while you're waiting. We keep the tickets absurdly low. We strive to break even and not make any money. We want all the bands to leave with as much money as humanly possible. So we give all the money to the bands and we don't do any merch cuts, so that they can leave going like, holy shit, Mad with Power was so much fun and we made all this money and blah, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. So we do all that for the bands, but we think about the fans too. We fast track the entry experience. We have different VIP levels so that people can like support in different ways, but we keep the fest overly, affordable as much as possible. And we do dinner breaks. We have other sponsored activities outside. So we've got like a pre-party that's free. In between the 2 days of the fest, we do a heavy metal cheese curd flash mob at a farmer's market. So this is really fun. I gotta like do a side note on this one. There, from about a half a mile from the festival is the United States' second biggest farmers market is in Madison, Wisconsin, and it's around the Capitol building in Madison. So what we do is we're like, okay, everybody, grab your metal vests, get your most metal T-shirt, get your boombox blasting Blind Guardian, meet us at the top of State Street, right where this farmers market begins at 11:30 a.m. Bring cash, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna just go to the farmers market and we're gonna buy out every single cheese curd stand. We're going to shut them down. We're going to buy all of their inventory and they're going to leave home early and they're going to be like, there's a bunch of metalheads that just came and bought all of our cheese curds. What the fuck just happened?
Nice.
And it happens every year and they now know it's going to happen, but they don't know when. They still haven't figured out that it's part of like this thing. So once a year, every year, just 500 metalheads will suddenly be at the farmers market buying nothing but cheese curds. And it's the greatest thing in the world. It's so much fun. So we have stuff like that. And I mean, really what we try to do with the festival, with the fan aspect of it is community building. I don't know about you guys, but as a musician, I don't really go to the festivals for music, right? Music's great. Music's fun. Live music is great. I love seeing bands. But I experience bands in a much different way than a regular fan does because I'm like in analytic mode all the time. So I don't really have as much fun, during the live experience maybe as some people do. But I go to other festivals for the community. I go to like see that one guy who I get to see once a year, give him a big hug, buy a beer, catch up, see what's going on. I go to festivals for that aspect of it. So what I do with Mad with Powerfest is I try to create as many things related to the festival that will foster community, that will foster connections between people. Because the more people feel like they're part of this community, the more people feel like they're invited to be kind of in the inner circle of this community, right? Which everybody is. The better things go. People make friends. I've had situations in my life where like one tiny act of kindness that was probably very cursory, very like easy for somebody to do has changed my life completely. And if I can offer that to somebody else, if I can make things better for other people by like, oh, hey, I met this person at Matters Powerfest. They ended up being my best friend. We moved in together. We started candle making business, and now we're millionaires.
Right.
If I could do something like that, right, then I'd love to do that. So, for me, it is that's why I'm not jaded about any of this, because I can see I can see what's happening with the scene. I can see what's happening with the fans. I can see what's happening with the bands, and it's tangible. In the 7 years since we've done this festival, it to me feels like things are going up and up and up for our genre, right? And things are going up and up and up for our scene. I'd like to, I'm not going to say that I caused it, but I'd like to believe that I'm sort of fertilizing the soil as best I can,
Yeah.
so that the next Lords of the Trident, when I'm on oxygen tanks at some festival, the next Lords of the Trident doesn't have it as hard as I had it. I'd like it just to be easier for everybody. I'd like to be, they don't have to deal with antagonistic booking agents. I'd like that,
So, Dark, before you get to your next one, I got my 5-minute warning on Zoom. So if you got a short one, otherwise we're going to run out of time.
Oh, sure.
We can, and I can reconnect if you guys want. It's fine too,
I guess, okay, if we want like a quick one before we head out of here. All right, so I'm a schmuck. I live in New York. I got to ask, what made you decide Madison? Like, Fellowship's coming to the U.S. for the first time, and if you'd ask them, that's it.
I live there. A lot of people have asked me this question. Like, why don't you do it in Chicago? Why don't you do it in Milwaukee? Why don't you do it in Minneapolis? I live here. You want me to go somewhere? Like, no, no. Like, and I get it. Like, so I have a lot of connections with the local music scene, with the local businesses that sponsor every year, right? And local arcades. All of the people that bring in the arcade machines and the pinball machines are my friends. They run arcade bars, and I hang out with them. So that's the pragmatic answer.
Plus, where else would you do cheese curds? You wouldn't do that in New York City.
Exactly. But the other answer too, and I want people to understand this, right? Because this is difficult this causes conflict with a lot of people. Coming into Madison is not necessarily as cheap as coming into like Chicago or Milwaukee or Minneapolis, right? Flying in or driving in is not necessarily as cheap. We don't have as much like gigantic mega city infrastructure as New York, as Chicago. We have some of it, but we don't have as much of it as Chicago does. However, we also don't have those cities' prices. We don't have those cities' parking. We don't have those cities' problems generally. Madison is a city, but it's a smaller city. Greater Madison area is about, I think, a little over 600,000 people, a little bit over 500,000 people, right? And because of that, we're not looking at like 7 million, 8 million, however much Chicago is. So here's a shocker for everybody: you can find parking at Mad with Powerfest, and it's not $75 to park for 2 days. It's like 12.
That's awesome.
Beautiful too, yeah.
We have hotels that are reasonably priced, and not like $300 for a tiny little place. So yes, the sticker shock at the beginning of like getting to Madison is a bit, and it's something people have to overcome. But understand, once you get here, it's the Midwest. We've got cheap food, cheap hotels, and a lot of parking. And generally, like, it's kind of nice here. I think everybody who's come to Madison have been like, it's really nice here. I think I understand why you live here, Ty. I'm like, yeah. I could do this. I can do this without hitting anybody. Like,
I'm in Manhattan. I'm doing it. Just saying. But I've actually been to Madison before.
Walking down the street, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've actually been to Madison before, so it's not that far for me. But hey, well, Ty, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Hey, be well. Good luck.
Thank you.
Nice seeing you again.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Oh, but before you guys disconnect, by the way, we've got we'll probably also hit you up sometime soon. We got a new EP dropping in less than a month. So
Oh, yeah.
so
That's right. We
lots
could
of good
schedule
coming out
something for
soon.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Be well.
Bye,
Cheers.
guys.
Good.